Welcome, football fans. Buckle up for another hard-hitting episode of Player 54 Podcast, an independent show focused solely on alternative and opportunity football. From a sunny Southwest Florida studio, here is your host, Michael Lathrop.
Hello, football fans. This is episode 139. San Angelo completes the CoFL South. Welcome back to another episode of Player 54 Podcast. Today, we welcome San Angelo Sidewinders managing partner Keith Russ to discuss his team, the decision to join the Continental Football League, and more. Welcome, Keith. I appreciate you taking the time to appear on the show to discuss the San Angelo Sidewinders joining the Continental Football League and possibly more.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me tonight.
Well, you're welcome. I think it's a treat for all of us. You know, this is new territory, learning new things. So before we dive into the recent announcement, I believe it would be beneficial to provide those tuning in with a little bit, kind of a brief background about yourself, your introduction to football, and experience in the professional football world. So if you could take a moment, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. I play college ball, and I worked around semi-pro and outdoor, and I love outdoor. I got into the arena football business about 5 years ago. It's had its up and downs. Pretty much like anybody, we've had some highs, we've had some lows. Did some good things, made some mistakes along the way, but I've always wanted to have an outdoor team that was professional, and the Continental kind of provided that. So I'm really excited about that.
You mentioned your arena football endeavors. Not that we're looking to dive into those, but how has those previous experiences in professional arena football help prepare you for this moment in assembling a professional, traditional 11v11 team?
I think it's really helped a lot. I think it's really, I think there's a lot to take from a lot of lessons learned from arena football. And there's a lot of good things in arena football that can be learned from. From the business standpoint, not necessarily maybe the football standpoint, but the business standpoint. We had to learn. We had to learn that it was a business first, and and it's not a football team. It's a business that is also an entertainment company. That, oh, by the way, we own a football team. That was one of the biggest challenges for me because I'm a football guy, and I've always thought football first. But over the years, I've learned that it's got to be business first, and it's So I think arena football has helped really kind of get us into the business and teach us how to sell things and how to actually, just do the right thing with it and make some money.
Well, money makes the world go round, right? Yeah. Can't really do a whole lot without it. It's one of those necessary evils, so to speak. You mentioned the arena, and you're kind of wearing more than one hat right now, so to speak. So you have your involvement with the Odessa Drillers and the American Indoor Football. So can you kind of, when somebody's involved in one aspect, it's kind of tough to kind of get something else launched. So can you kind of share with us what sparked this idea of launching the San Angelo Sidewinders?
We were looking, I was looking at San Angelo to put an arena football team. And they're doing construction on their arena, and it just didn't work out because the timeline didn't match. And San Angelo is a great market. There's a lot of good people there. I had already, kind of been over there just meeting people. And so, they've got a junior college, well, not junior college. They've got I think it's a D2 school there. They've got multiple high school stadiums, and it's Texas. It's, football. Football is king here. And, I actually had a staff member that worked for me over there. And once I told her that we weren't going to be able to do the arena football because of the arena, construction and things like that, the first thing she was like, well, can't we play outdoor? And, arena doesn't work outdoor. And she just kept, just calling me and messaging me and wanting me to, hey, let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. San Angelo needs a team. And, we were kind of at our wits' end. I thought of every idea I could. I didn't want to put a semi-pro team there with semi-pro guys that, doesn't really provide any real value to the community. And whenever I actually saw a Facebook post about the Continental Football League coming back, and I called first thing in the morning. I called Manny, and I think at that time they had a 14 possibly gonna that already had the slot taken, and I was kind of trying to talk to Manny, hoping that we could get a 15, hoping he would allow a 15. And I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, the other team, I guess they couldn't meet the financial criteria that they needed, and it opened up the door for me and my organization. So that's how we ended up with what's going on there. And here in Odessa, I'm kind of a minor player. I'm just helping out where I can help out to try to get the team off the ground and make sure it runs smoothly until about a month before the season starts. And at that point, then I'm going to move on and start working with the outdoor and start putting my coaching staff together and start recruiting players for that.
So you mentioned a Facebook post, and you probably were, pursuing, maybe that's not the right term, Keith, but you were looking and probably, browsing for what opportunities might be, whether it been maybe the IFA or the PIFL or what other leagues might be. What was it, other than this Facebook post, but what was it that in the conversations, with Manny and whatnot, that this felt like it was the right project for, a new team that you're launching, right? You mentioned you didn't want to go the semi-pro route. You mentioned, it had to be the right fit for the community. So what was it about the Continental Football League that just seemed right?
I kind of like their game plan, and I like their structure. And I talked to Manny, and it helped that Manny and we know a lot of the same people. I mean, coach of the world, that he's coached, I've coached in college, and it's kind of it's a small world. And it ended up we had Coach Bill Connolly that used to coach at Ohio State. We have him in common as friends. Hal Mum, those guys that we all kind of have in common. We've all run across them. Larry Fedora, people like that. And so it kind of right off the bat, it was kind of like I don't know, kind of like being in the Army and you meet somebody else that was in the Army and at the bar, and you're like, hey man, and you got a million stories to tell. But then Manny kind of started showing me their structure, and I had always said to everybody I know that if I could figure out how we could make a viable outdoor league where, I didn't care if we made money, as long as we really made enough that the team could survive year to year. And their concept is actually pretty good. And I think what I know with Arena and how we sell and the things that we do for entertainment value for families, I think we can translate it over, and I can actually, finally have what I actually want to have, which is an outdoor program that's not semi-pro, that's viable. We have viable opponents that are going to show up, and everything's just going to be uniform across the board. I don't, semi-pro, you never know if you're going to have 15 or 20 guys show up. You don't know if they're going to have the right helmets, or or if even they're going to have the roster that they had last week. It's just no structure. But I think with Manny's plan and the other owners' plans, what I've read about, I think we're all on the same page about what we want to do and what kind of players, and we're all going to help each other out to make sure that we're all successful. And that's something that's even lacking in indoor football, arena football, is that everybody has their own business, and it's not, if one team struggles, nobody helps. It's just, you're kind of like, it's lip service that we're going to help, but when it comes crunch time, then you're kind of left out there on the island by yourself. And I don't see that with the guys that's in this organization. And so that's kind of what I've always really been looking for.
So ideas meet opportunity, that eventually evolves into reality, right? So here we are. You're announced as the sixth team for the inaugural 2026 season, Continental Football League. And with that, you're also the fourth and final team in the South Division. And so that completes what all the new fans, all the people that are interested in this space. So you'll be participating in the division with the Texas Syndicate, who is based in Austin, the San Antonio Toros, Tall City Black Gold, What does it mean to your ownership team to be involved from the very beginning of this league and this collection of divisional opponents?
It means a lot. I think we're all pretty close too. That's one thing that's huge is we're a day trip. We're not traveling 1,000 miles in 2 days and staying at a hotel and then packing up after the game. And so it gives us an opportunity that if the ownership in Midland, if they have some kind of issues or they need help selling or they need anything. I mean, I'm an hour and 15 minutes away. I can grab my sales staff and jump in the car and we can be over in Midland and helping them out any way that they can. San Antonio and Austin is not that far. It's 6 hours maybe, I think. And I think I'm excited because I think we can all work together and we can do the things that we need to do to make our division very strong and successful.
I think that's pretty apparent, Keith. I mean, for those that have been tuning into the league, this past weekend here, we just saw a partnership, if you will, between the syndicate and the Toros and even the Black Gold coming together to do a tryout. And it's interesting, how a lot of leagues are either centrally owned, so they do their combines or showcases a certain way, or a lot of other leagues, if they're independently owned, the teams don't really work together in that capacity. But it kind of does come back to a very, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? But it also,
Right.
Yes, you're individually owned, but it's this community model. And I'd like to kind of get into that, what you think about that as well. But it obviously has this bigger sense, like Texas. And the Texas, even though they're going to be competing against one another on the field, they're also working to make sure this thing looks like it's going to get off the ground right. So can you talk about that a little bit more, like how you mentioned you'd be willing to go to Midland or help vice versa? Can you kind of talk about how seeing that and how important that is to you're not only the business plan but essentially ultimately your success?
I mean, I think we're all only as strong as the weakest team in the league, and if one team fails, we all fail. Especially with a lower amount of teams, with four teams. I mean, if one of us fail, then we can't. It's not just easy to make up a couple games and bring in teams like that. So I think to me it's more. Yeah, it wants us to all have to work together a lot better because we all want to be successful. So, I mean, I think that's why we'll be really successful because, again, we have to have that mentality because there's only four of us in this division right now, and you know it could be three very quickly if things aren't done right. So we all have to work together to make sure that we're on the same page. I mean, we'll compete on Saturday nights and you know try to blow the other team out or get the one up on the other team. But at the end of the day, on Monday morning, we got to be able to if San Antonio or even San Angelo, any of them, if the teams, hey, we kind of really struggled this home game and we got this coming up. We just need some help. We got to be on Monday morning ready to come and go where we need to do to help make sure that team plays the next weekend. And that's the biggest thing that's lacking in a lot of leagues is lip service. Everybody, oh, we're all a team, we're all a league, we're all one big family. But and when it comes down to it, it's really not. And that's why a lot of these leagues, at this level, that's why they never really work because you don't have that brotherhood. You got to have the brotherhood that, hey, if my brother's house is on fire, I'm going to go over there with a bucket and help him put it out till the fire department gets there. And that's just something that I think will build this league better as we all work together.
You mentioned about, okay, the arena thing didn't work out. The venue's doing some renovations, not going to be ready. You didn't want to do semi-pro because you wanted to do what was right for the community. And this is a very interesting model with its community owned, very fan centric, very community centric. What do you think bringing not only a professional team, but this team, this model to your community? And what do you think those residents, those fans are going to think of this model? Do you think this is something they're going to embrace? Is this something you think, it's going to take some time? Because, one, you're a new entity. The league is, being brought back from the 60s. So, it takes some time to kind of build that recognition. How do
Right.
you see this working out? I mean, you got a short window. You're playing in May, so and
Yeah.
I know we don't all have a crystal ball, Keith. But
Right.
how do you think this? I mean, your community is going to, um, precede this team.
I think the community will. I'd been around. I'd talked to everyone already. Just about anybody. They had an old arena team there probably 15 years ago, and I went around to people. I talked to people, just kind of just seeing how arena team would ever even work there. Arena football. And a lot of places that I went into, they still had pictures from 15, 20 years ago where they were at a football game. And I went into this one place and I talked to this guy on a glass company, and he was telling me he's like, we used to have a semi-pro team here that played. They would play on Sundays down at the stadium, and they filled the stadium up. And I know a lot of things have changed since then, and we've got so much on the internet, and there's so many millions of different video games and things people can play and do, and don't have to leave your house. But I think with this model, I think it would kind of bring in a sense of community because, um, I think when you're a part of something and you kind of have a little bit invested in it, I think you're more apt to want to see how it works out. You're not going to be, I mean, and I don't know how much of the business model has been put out there, so I don't want to put too much out of what hasn't been spoken on, but I think the aspect is a good idea and it could work. I don't know on what scale it's going to work, but I think it's going to work somewhat to to bring the community in.
Texas football is pretty much a religion, right? It's a way of life in Texas.
Right.
So you're bringing something back to a community that has mentioned 10, 15 years still, living those glory days, reminiscing. Now here it is, right? And the division is all Texas, right?
Right.
So, it's not just San Angelo, Midland. You're you're in a good distance, right? You mentioned I think a max of 6 hours, maybe 7 hours, depending on how traffic may go for some. But it's pretty much set up in a good position in the heart of Texas. Do you see the rest of Texas, this catching the eye of the rest of Texas, maybe?
I do. I think it'll work. And some of the, kind of the communities like we're, 100,000, 150,000 people, the type of communities that we're kind of structured. I know San Antonio is a little bit bigger and Austin is huge, but for the most part, I think there's a lot of cities that once they see it, I think they'll want their own team, and it's finding the right ownership there for to be accepted by the league and be able to function as a team. Because I mean, obviously the league's going to have standards that's going to be expected to be met. So I think that it will. I think it'll catch fire. I mean, is it going to burn Texas down and be I'll do the XFL or the UFL or the NFL? No, there would never be a league to do that. I don't think. But I think if we stay in our lane and accept what we are and build from that, I think we can pick up more and more cities and get some fans. I mean, I think San Angelo State, I think they get 6,000 to 7,000 fans a game, and they're D2, D3 school, and I mean that's right there in San Angelo. So um, yeah, I think it might catch on in Texas and surrounding states.
It's a good starting point, right? To find places that are football crazed, or it's just, a way of life. It's in their blood, so to speak.
Right.
So, being the fourth team, not that a lot of teams are super ahead of you guys, right, by your announcement and operations, but you do have the syndicate, have a head coach, the coordinators are announced, starting to announce more and more players. Uh, not that I'm expecting you to break any news here, Keith. So but um, how far out are maybe some of those announcements? That maybe a head coach, maybe a couple player signings. I mean, you might be closer. Maybe things are already in the bag. But when could fans or people that are tuning into the league anticipate that?
I think before Christmas we'll have the head coach in us. We've got three candidates right now. I mean, I have my personal favorite, but we're going to look at all candidates equally and find the right man for the job. But I think we could announce the head coach before Christmas. I believe it'd be a good Christmas present for the team. As
Agreed.
far as players go, a lot of us, we know a lot of players that are already going to be here. I mean, we just got to put the ink to the paper, but we got a good idea of a lot of players that are already going to be playing for us.
You have some tryouts already planned or scheduled?
I don't know if we're actually going to do a tryout. I think we'll, with the coaching staff that we're going to bring in, I'm pretty sure that we probably know 36 to 37 players that we already want on the team. That aren't playing anywhere or won't be playing anywhere at that time.
That's a good position to be in if you have all that talent identified and know their contract status, so to speak. So that's pretty good.
Right.
Well, Keith, before I let you go, I think I'm going to give you the soapbox moment that I'd like to give everybody, and give you that opportunity to maybe identify something that we have not touched base on, and perhaps that you believe is important for the Sidewinders, maybe the Continental Football League, as you guys prepare for 2026. Is there anything that you think is important that the fans, the community needs to know about you guys coming in now that it's quote unquote official?
Well, I mean, I think the fans would want to know that, we're going to entertain them, and we want it to be family friendly. Our guys are going to be out in the community, going to the schools and talking to kids and being at community events and things like that. And so, I mean, we're going to be a community oriented team. I mean, where our game's going to be entertaining, where, when football's not going on, we're going to have other things going on that keep the crowd engaged. And we're going to get to football fans. We want the moms and the guys that don't like football that want to come out and still have a good time at a football game. So that's one of the tell the community. We're going to have an entertaining game. And I think with the staff and the team that we're putting together, we're going to win some football games, and everybody likes to win.
Everyone likes a W. Everyone likes a W. Well, Keith, I appreciate you taking the time to appear on the show to discuss the San Angelo Sidewinders, the Continental Football League with me, and just that whole community idea. I think it's pretty amazing. But I know over the next several months, the organization will be busy as you solidify, head coach and its staff, and start bringing in those players that you guys all have targeted. So, I'm going to wish you guys, the league, best of luck. Health, definitely got to take a little bit of health on the side, build a roster, but you need a little bit of the roster stay intact for the course of the season. But perhaps down the road, as things start to clear up, right? Things start becoming a little bit more solidified. And as long as you have the availability and the interest, I'd love to have you come back so we can discuss the state of the Sidewinders and,
Okay.
maybe the Continental Football League season. That's when it gets better, Keith. Not
Right.
this, so far out. Things are just, it's a blank canvas. That's when we can actually talk about real football. And
Right.
I would love to have you come back if you'd be interested.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I always like to go back and look at a video, at the beginning of the season and see, kind of see what my thoughts were at that time. And then, later in the season, come back and then see, okay, what are my thoughts now on things? So yeah, absolutely.
We all have ideas. It's when it becomes reality, right? When it's
Right.
all said and done. Before you go, if you don't mind, could you take a moment to inform those tuning in where they could follow the San Angelo Sidewinders, on social media, website maybe, so they can, stay up to date on the latest developments as you guys prepare for your first season?
So right now our website's being built. There was a few things we needed to add to it since we're not playing indoor. But we are on Facebook. It's San Angelo Sidewinders football, I believe it's football. Otherwise, the San Angelo Sidewinders is our Facebook page. That's probably the best place to communicate if you're a player and you want to try out or you want us to send video to the coaches. That's probably the best way to do it right now.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Keith.
Yes, sir. Have a great day.
You too. The Continental Football League has two remaining team announcements to complete its 2026 membership, both being North Division members. The Sidewinders' inclusion to the Continental Football League shows their commitment to the regional model and underserved communities. Fans could easily travel to these divisional games. It will be interesting, and I look forward to seeing how Texas supports its teams. This division might become a bright spot for the Continental Football League. Time will tell. That concludes another show. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to having everyone back soon for an all-new episode of Player 54 Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into today's show. You can support the show and our partners by using code PLAYER54 at checkout at any of the following websites: RoyalRetros.com, where you can save 15%, TrueVictory.com, where you can save 15%, BuckedUp.com, where you can save 20%, ImpactMouthguards.com, where you can save 10%, HobbyArmor.com, where you can save 5%, JustMeatJerky.com, where you can save 10%. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe and rate Player 54 Podcast on your platforms of choice. Do you have a question or topic you would like to have discussed on the show? Message us via social media or send an email to player54podcast@gmail.com.